really wonderful time just being here with everything that's going on in this room right now. Just so happy to just be right here right now. And I'm happy to be starting a brand new series today. We pause each year in May. It's sort of a tradition here at Mile High Church to pause in May and take a look at abundance. Be willing to have a series of talks that really invite us into a deeper place of abundance in every realm. It's about abundance of love, abundance of opportunity, abundance of well-being, abundance of money. It's about all of it, and invite ourselves to really practice it and live it out in the world. And so we have a series that we've planned, and it wasn't planned alone in a vacuum. We had a wonderful team of people who came up with the theme of the abundant universe, and a beautiful look for it. You probably saw the slide with there it is right there. Isn't that a beautiful, beautiful slide? Just reminds me of abundance. And the abundant universe has 4 components to it, and our intention with this series is not just to bring nice concepts and great ideas and woohoo, but to give practices and to give 4 pillars that we believe support people in living an abundant life in every realm, and that learning to practice and embrace these 4 pillars will contribute to a greater experience of feeling the abundance of the universe. And so before I go any further, I want to introduce the team that has planned all of this and let them stand if they are in the room. Some of them are watching online, not be able to be here today, but please hold your applause until I'm complete introducing all of them. Our team is Karma Lytle, Reverend Carol Wilkie, Reverend Jackie Harris. I know she's here somewhere. There, she's back there. Dr. Kent Rautenstrauss, Lindsay Portencaso, Sarah Shin, Tom Litch, Jennifer Burnett, and soon to be Reverend Christina Jones. And that's our wonderful Adventure in Prosperity team. Thank you so much. Creative people who want to contribute to the beauty of Mile High Church in this work. And so I'm so grateful for them. They've done a beautiful job, and it's been an honor to work with them. So our theme arises out of our belief in this teaching that this is an abundant universe. We believe firmly that there's more than enough. And this belief is born out of the notion that that which created this universe, God, the source, the infinite life, is fully expressing itself through and as everything that exists. It's pouring through this universe as all that could ever be wanted or needed. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've noticed that that's not what people tend to experience, though. So what's the dissonance between what we believe to be the truth about this abundant universe and what people are actually experiencing? What happens is that we've been given freedom to use our mind and to use our perceptions and to use our lives as an expression of that abundance, or finding ourselves sometimes expressing that lack or experiencing that sense of lack. Because through habits of mind and habits of belief, as Reverend Carol read in the readings earlier, we place thoughts and ideas between us and that abundance that wants to pour itself through us. We don't do this on purpose. It happens through our living. It happens as we see things go on in the world. It happens when we see things going on in our families. It happens when we see things happen in our personal life, that we draw conclusions that sometimes continue to anchor us in a belief in lack and limitation. And then we experience said lack and limitation and are challenged to believe that this is an abundant universe. Because we want to say, if this were an abundant universe, wouldn't I always have more than I need all the time? But that's not how life works. That's not how God works. We believe God has given us everything we could ever want. But if we place an idea, a thought, a belief in between that good that flows through us and our lives, we will find ourselves struggling to experience abundance. And it doesn't matter in what realm. I listed all the realms earlier. It might be in terms of opportunities. It might be in terms of health and well-being. It might be in terms of money. It might be in terms of friendship and connection. We have an opportunity at any time, the good news is, to change our thinking and change our lives, to change our belief system, to change our approach, to change how we are behaving with regards to abundance. And a huge part of that is to begin to listen and begin to attune ourselves to the abundant nature of this universe. I love in our evolved initiatives, our evolved communication initiatives, that one of them is listening to the divine, because a huge part of great communication in life is being able to hear the communication of the infinite, to hear the communication of the wholeness, to hear the communication of the love and the beauty, and to feel it as it pours itself through us. And so the abundant universe is all about that. It's about staying connected. And in our teaching, our founder, Ernest Holmes, in his book, The Science of Mind, which is often just called the textbook, says, when we learn to trust the universe, we shall be happy, prosperous, and well. We must learn to come under that divine government and accept the fact that nature's table is ever filled. Never was there a cosmic famine. Now, certainly we look around the world and we can see that there are people and places who experience extreme famine, lack, need, hunger, shelter, opportunities, loneliness. They don't have people around. And so we can certainly see that going on. And we would assert today that we want to solve that because something in us knows that the universe is meant to be abundant for everyone, not just some of us, for all of us. And we're suggesting that we all play a part in that. Whether we ever go out and feed the hungry children of the world, or we go out and take actions to create more equity in the world for people to have their rights and their needs met, that's our business. But one thing I know for sure is that as each one of us claims and owns and chooses to become a center of abundance where we know the truth about this universe, then we become a being that wherever we go, that energy follows us. And any action we might choose to take to make the world a better place is born out of that sense of abundance. It's not born out of lack and need and desperation at that point. It's born out of, I know there's plenty in the universe, and I'm going to be a force and a channel that is in alignment with that truth and step forward and take action. And we have an opportunity to be that and do that when we embrace the notion that this is an abundant universe. Not just as a nice little thought in our head. Yeah, it's an abundant, but as an experience, a visceral experience. I've been contemplating this theme for many weeks now with our team. And I had a very visceral experience myself of it in a situation that I would never have expected it. My wonderful husband Ken and I bought one of those indoor cycles that has a big screen on it, and you can take classes on the bike classes. I love bike riding, and so you can take spin classes. But one of the things I love about this particular bike is that you can go on bike rides all over the world. And these trainers take you on these bike rides on trails all over the world. And so especially in this past year when I haven't been able to travel as much as I want, I've been traveling on my indoor bike. I've gone to Maui, and I've gone to Italy and Switzerland, and I have ridden my bike all over the world, and it's been a blast. And there's another great advantage. I used to belong to a gym that Lauren Sheely was part of, and we would go for classes, and the trainers would work us really hard, and I learned that it's not considered socially acceptable to yell and scream at the trainer when they push you too hard. Who knew? But when I'm on my bike at home, he's pushing me too hard right now. I can yell and scream. So there's a little advantage there too. But one day, I've been doing this series recently called, it's in French Polynesia on the island of Moorea and some other islands nearby. And I was on a ride with the trainer, John, and they're telling you about all the things. And John likes to inspire people on these rides to complete the ride by promising you that at the end of that ride, he's going to take you to some beautiful spot on the island. So it's to keep you engaged. And so in this particular ride, he kept promising me something called Pineapple Beach. And so I'm envisioning this beach with all sorts of pineapples, because there certainly were pineapples all over the trees as you ride through French Polynesia. But we come to the end of the ride, and he takes you down to the beach, and all of a sudden, here's this beautiful, still beach with ocean water that's like greenish blue, and it expands out, and it's this beautiful scene. Well, that was touching enough, but then I noticed that right out in the still water, way away from the land, there's this little tree. And it's just there. It has no leaves. It's a real little thin tree, and it's just there, and it just hit me in the gut, like, that's us. That's us. That tree goes through all sorts of phases of living. Goes through phases of living where its leaves are abundant and green and beautiful, where its leaves get kind of dry, where it's blown in the wind and the storms come, and all the while that tree is just anchored in the water, in the sustenance of life. It's just anchored in the water. It's rooted in the depths of it. I couldn't get a picture of that actual tree that John took us to, but I have Lindsay help find a picture that is similar to that, a tree right out in the middle. This is us. This is us. No matter what goes on in your life or mine, whether things are taken from us, whether life changes dramatically, whether there's plenty or not, no matter what's going on at the surface level, we are always rooted in the true abundant nature of the universe. And we are always sustained by that source. And the more we embrace that fully and completely, the more we can experience this. So in this 4-part series, the first place we're going to start is with gratitude. Our title today is Abundant Gratitude, How Gratitude Makes Us Rich. Because that feeling of richness comes when we understand that our source is limitless, that our source is abundant, that our source is this invisible presence that we are constantly utilizing even when we try to tell ourselves we're not, when we try to talk ourselves out of the good that God is and the good that the world is and the good that my life is. Still, all the while, that source never leaves us, never abandons us, just like that little tree just stays right in the water, and the water's there all the time. We live like that. And so the first part then of embracing the abundant universe, I think, has to do with receivership. We've heard for years, many of us, 'tis better to give than to receive. And we debate in classes and have really interesting conversations about, should you give first or do you receive first, or is it all connected? And while it is all connected, I would like to suggest today that the first place we have to start is receivership, because it's hard to give away what you haven't chosen to receive. It's hard to give away what you haven't claimed already. And so in order for us to be great givers of life in any arena, we've got to be in receivership. We've got to say yes to life. And that may sound really easy and really elementary, yet I challenge us to look at how many times in our life in a day we don't receive, or how we are resistant to receivership. In little ways that we put our hand up to life and to people and to the universe. Someone says, "Oh, you look great today." "Oh, well, I didn't even get a chance to do my hair. My hair's all a mess. And I love that dress. Oh, this old thing, it's no big deal, Just compliments. Receivership is people say, "I'd like to buy your coffee today." "Oh, no, you don't have to do that. No, not so necessary. I can afford my own dang coffee, Those ways that we say to life, more, stay away. More, stay away. More. This is the dance of I am not in receivership. I was actually guilty of doing it this morning. My husband tried to help me do something before church, and I put my hand up, and, not literally, but energetically, and I had to back off and say, "Okay, you got to practice what you're preaching today, Michelle." Whew. Yeah, exactly. And that's one place that many of us are proud. We will not receive help. If we get into trouble, if we don't know how to solve a problem, if we're not sure what to do, God forbid anyone try to help us with it. We're kind of like a little 4-year-old. I do myself. I can do it myself. I don't need anybody's help. I don't need help. Like we've got this prideful resistance to receivership. And it translates everywhere. See, we don't get the luxury of walking around in life and refusing help and support and then hoping that we can have a lot of good in our life. It doesn't work that way. Because if we put our hand up too much, the message that we put into consciousness is no. So a person who is in alignment with abundance opens themselves up and says, "Okay, life's here to help and support me. someone offers to do something nice for me or to give me something, I get to have my boundaries about it and say, well, that doesn't quite work for me today. How about tomorrow? But I have to pay attention to how often I'm pushing things away from me and not willing to receive the good of life. And as we open ourselves up to that, our heart begins to engage. We begin to find ourselves saying that we want to be engaged with life. And I would say today that gratitude is the doorway into the abundant living. That practicing gratitude on a regular, consistent basis allows us to walk through that doorway over and over and over again. And the more we walk through that doorway, the more we can be in receivership of the good that life is. And it engages the heart. It's then not just an intellectual exercise, it's a heartful exercise. The great jazz musician Lionel Hampton, who also was a huge contributor to life. He and his wife not only, he didn't contribute just beautiful music to our world, he and his wife created all sorts of opportunities for housing for people and all sorts of great foundations that they contributed. But Lionel says it like this. He says, gratitude is when memory is stored in the heart, not in the mind. And a great way to store gratitude in the heart is to begin to practice it every single day. It's not just for special days like Thanksgiving. It's not just something you do to be polite. It's something that those who are abundant engage in every single day. And we become rich through this practice. And I'm not talking just money. Money's only part of it. I've certainly known people who are rich financially, but they're not rich. And I've known people who don't have a lot of money or things, but they're some of the most rich, happy, healthy, wealthy people in the world. So I'm talking about each one of us finding our way through the door of gratitude and through the door of abundance, such that we find our sense of what is wealth for us, what is abundance for us, what is richness for us, a rich life that we get to live on our terms and in our way. And so I've brought 4 things today that I call grata actions that we can consider this week as we want to begin to practice living an abundant life. They're probably things that you've heard of before, most likely, but it's just a reminder of this week. Consider entering through the gates of abundance with these grata actions. The first one has to do with gratitude timers. A number of people that I know and have talked to recently talk about how they'll set a timer on their phone or their iPhone or their watch or their whatever they're using as a device every hour or every 2 hours or every 5 hours, whatever works, or every night before they go to bed. And when the timer goes off, they just stop and look around and allow their hearts to open to something they can be grateful for right now in this moment. I'm so grateful the sun is shining. I'm so grateful that I'm here with this person. I'm so grateful for this beautiful work that I get to do, and whatever it might be. And it may not be a timer on a device. Maybe it's I'm driving around and every time I come to a red light, I sit there and wait for the light to turn green and I count my blessings. I think about the things I'm grateful for. It's finding little cues that when they set off, we attune ourselves to gratitude. That's using gratitude timers and allowing ourselves to walk through the doorway of gratitude over and over again throughout our day, inviting ourselves to feel that heartfelt sense of the blessings that are in our lives. Gratitude journals, the second way that we can do this. They become popular in the last few years, mostly through the wonderful work of the great Oprah Winfrey, who talked about these on her talk show and invited people to begin to take time every night to write down things that they're grateful for. In a speech, Oprah says, keep a grateful journal. Every night list 5 things that happened this day that you are grateful for. What it will begin to do is change your perspective of your day and your life. If you can learn to focus on what you have, you will always see that the universe is abundant. You will have more. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you will never have enough. That's the practice, isn't it, of gratitude? Because what can happen when we're dancing with abundance is we have to take our awareness away from what's missing, from what we don't have, from what's not enough, and turn our attention to the enoughness, as Tom's song invited us to do, to remind ourselves that there is more than enough. And I'm going to look right at it and give thanks for it right now and own it in my own heart and my own beingness to expand my sense of gratitude. I also think that the third grata action is to give thanks for the mundane and the routine. I teach people in abundance classes to consider not just paying our bills rotely. I'm going to pay my bill for my car and for my house and for this and for that. But as I pay bills, to routinely stop. And every time I pay that bill, give thanks. I'm paying the company that provides me electricity. And I'm so grateful for electricity. That's really a handy dandy little thing there, you know. And so I'm going to express my gratitude as I send that check off or write that check or pay that bill. And I'm going to give thanks for this home that I get to live in. Even if I want a bigger, better home, I'm going to start by paying my rent or my mortgage with gratitude that I have a home. I have a roof over my head. I have a sanctuary, a safe place for me to be every day. I'm going to pay my car payment, and I'm going to give thanks for that beautiful car that I get to drive around town. Because of that car, I am mobile. So every one of those bills, the mundane, giving thanks that because I have these things, I can circulate my good towards them. Giving thanks in my home or in my place of work for the little things that people do that support us. Oh, I'm so grateful that someone unloaded the dishwasher. Thank you. I'm so grateful that someone made coffee this morning. Isn't that lovely? I'm so grateful for the coffee. I'm so grateful, just looking constantly for little things that we can find, that we can extend gratitude for. And taking time to send sweet cards or even just a text to someone saying, I'm so grateful for you. Who you are is so amazing. I'm so grateful. Thank you for buying me coffee today, or thank you for your prayers, or thank you for being you. Just taking time to send love notes and cards and texts to people in gratitude. These are things that we can do this week that can help to anchor us in. And the last one, which in my world has often proved to be one of the most important ones, is something I called the unconditional thank you. It is very handy, especially in areas where we might be experiencing lack and limitation, and we're tempted to have resentment and frustration that we don't have what we want. But we give thanks when we see other people experiencing what we want. So when we look out at the world and we see somebody having something we'd like to have, we have a choice. In that moment, we can be jealous and resentful, or we can be grateful. We can look at, if we want a romantic relationship and we see some lovey-dovey couple, we can be like, oh gosh, another lovey-dovey couple. Or we can say, wow, look at that couple. I'd like to have a loving relationship like that. We see somebody who has the degree of health and strength that we'd like to have in our body, and we can, instead of saying, we can be happy and say, I'm so grateful for the vitality in that person's body. I see somebody who has a beautiful thing in the world of form that I'd like to have, those beautiful homes or cars or whatever, and that's something that I aspire to, rather than resenting people who have those things, being willing to say, I'm so grateful for their good. I'm so grateful for their good. There's a wonderful dynamic minister called Reverend Ike, who was very popular in the 80s. And I teach my prosperity classes. What Reverend Ike would say, he would look out at the world, and if he saw anything that he would like to have, instead of pushing it away with his resentment and fear, which when we do that, we don't get to have it. We have to realize the minute we resent something anyone else has, we can't have it. There's no way we get to have it because we've just put a barrier up between us and that good. The only way to get close to having that good is to take that resentful energy down and to look right at it and do what Reverend Ike says, which he would say very loudly, that's for me. That's for me. I'll have some of that. And when Harry met Sally, I'll have what she's having. That's for me. allowing ourselves to align ourselves with the good that life is offering. And even though it appears to be offering it to something or someone that appears to be the other, we know there's no such thing as the other. We are one with the abundant nature of the universe. And when we celebrate the good that other people have authentically and heartfully, we align ourselves with that. Even when we're experiencing a lack of energy in that area, where we can't seem to get what we want, or something is even taken away from us, or is challenging for us to manifest. I had a very profound experience with my former husband, Brad, a number of years ago. A lady here says I should call him my husband. I thought that was kind of cute. But Brad and I are still very good friends, and he and I were on an anniversary, and we were in Paris. A member of our congregation had offered us his apartment in Paris, and so we said yes, and we went to go stay. It was a little bit outside of town, so every day we would come into town, into Paris, on the train, and we would meet people. And this particular day, this person asked us where we were going to go, and we told them we were going to go to this particular museum, and they said, well, be very careful, because there's pickpockets at that museum. And they're just targeting that museum like crazy. And so when we got to the museum, we decided to be smart, and we checked our bags with the museum officials, and they took them and gave us a claim number, and we went through the museum, and we came back and got our bags, and we walked out of the museum, and we're standing in front of the museum on one of those iconic bridges in Paris where you can just see this beautiful sceneries in front of us. And I don't know what happened, but my intuition suddenly said to Brad, where's your wallet? And Brad did that man dance you men do sometimes, where he's like standing on the Paris bridge looking, and we go through the bags, and the wallet's gone. And then he remembers when he handed the bag over, he didn't take the wallet out of his pocket. And we realize he got pickpocketed. So we're standing there, we're trying to recount, well, what was in the wallet? What was in the wallet? And there was the debit card, and there were some traveler's checks, and we'd grabbed cash that day. His ID was in the wallet. It was just the wallet. It was all this stuff, and we're starting to panic a little bit. Here we are, we're in this foreign town in the foreign country, and how are we going to recover? And so we're standing on this bridge, and all of a sudden, I got struck with the beauty, and I think he did too. In that moment, both of us just took a deep breath. He's a practitioner, I'm a practitioner, a minister, and we're standing here looking around, and we looked at each other and we said, how could we shift this experience right now? We're standing in one of the most beautiful cities in the world, looking at this amazing scenery and this beautiful opportunity that someone gave us their apartment to live in for a week in Paris. We're so blessed. And we began to shift the whole conversation till it even got to the point where we said, you know what? Let's bless the person who took the wallet. Let's hope that the money that they got will help them in some way. Even if they're going to use it to buy drugs or alcohol or party, we don't care. It's theirs now. We bless it. We surrender it up to them. We give it gladly to them. If they're going to use it to feed their kids or to put clothing on their bodies or do something that will help them pay their rent so they can stay in their home, we don't know what they're going to use, but we unconditionally surrender it. And we did a prayer there. We stood there on that bridge and we prayed for that person and we surrendered that good to them and stood there in gratitude. And it changed things. I know for my own heart and soul forever. And as it turns out, we were able to cancel the traveler's checks, and we realized that we still had money back at the apartment, and we had our passports, and everything worked out just fine. It took a little bit of time to fix it, and we went on with our trip. It was a beautiful experience of choosing, even in a moment where we were scared and we felt lack approaching, to shift back into our heart, to shift back into the abundant universe, and to claim our good. The comedian Jim Carrey says to us, I challenge anybody in their darkest moment to write what they're grateful for, even stupid little things like green grass or a friendly conversation with somebody on the elevator. He says, you start to realize how rich you are. That's our invitation this week, to use gratitude as an instrument, a tool, a means to create that feeling of richness and wealth in our lives this coming week by practicing any or all of these gratitude actions. I saw a meme this last week that said, it's not happy people who are thankful, it is thankful people who are happy. And I would change it and say, it's not abundant people who are thankful, it's thankful people who are abundant. Let the abundance begin now. Yeah. So I invite you to join us in prayer. And in alignment with this message, let's give a prayer of gratitude. I invite us to notice right here and right now what gratitudes we have for the opportunity to be here together in this holy space, for the opportunity for all the good that is around us, all of these good beings surrounding us, good hearts, the opportunity to be breathing this day, to be alive, to be fully here now. We give thanks for that. We give thanks for all of the wonderful good that flows through our lives. And I invite us just to see the faces and see the experiences and feel the alignment that we have towards that great good. We are blessed. We know that we are blessed, and we claim and own those blessings now. We know that those blessings are because the infinite wealth of the universe, the infinite love of the universe, the infinite light of the universe is pouring itself through us right now. And we open our hearts and minds to be the great receiver, the glad receiver of that good. And we use these grateful hearts that we have to continue to anchor us over and over and over again into that good. And I am so grateful for this inspiration within us that calls us to this, and so grateful for the deepening that occurs this week in each of our hearts as we endeavor to live out this practice and this way of life for ourselves and all beings everywhere. We are blessed. We know it. We claim it. We are it. We are grateful. We let it be. We let it go. And so it is. Amen.